Welcome to the 16th episode of Access to Art, produced by the Minneapolis Television Network. The only people crazy enough to do it, quite frankly, is not just the art that's safe and sanitized, it's all the arts that make Minneapolis so vibrant a city. We're outside of Intermedia in Minneapolis for the opening of the Unconvention, and the mural behind me right now is the side that reads, "Build Bridges." We're here before the opening reception for the Unconvention at Intermedia, and I'm with the go-to bagel mega organizer, Marlena Gonzalez, who plays a key role in what's going to be unfolding over the next few days while the Republican National Convention goes on in St. Paul. Marlena, what in the easiest way possible is going to happen here?
Well, here at Intermedia Arts, as you say, we're the hub of all the artists, the organizers, the curators, the community leaders, the community members who have participated in like more than 20 different events going on around town as a part of the Unconvention. So the Unconvention is really a huge gathering and a huge partnership of various organizations, mainstream organizations like the Walker Art Center, educational institutions like the University of Minnesota, community groups like the Liberty Parade and the Peace Island Picnic organizers, mid-sized organizations like the Intermedia Arts and Forecast Public Artworks.
And so it's representing the broadest possible constituency of people who are simply concerned about getting things going in the right direction again.
Exactly.
And open to all.
Exactly.
And
open to everyone.
What is tonight's reception going to include?
Well, tonight is first of all a celebration of all the hardworking, tired, sleepy, overworked partners who have been working really hard, especially since December of 2007, to put all these events together. And then we have all the artists who are exhibited in Intermedia Arts as part of this whole gallery exhibition. We've got an artist from New York, Fang Yu Lin, Puppet Farm Arts, who do workshops with the Heart of the Beast Puppet Theater. The My Yard Our Message competition that was created through the Walker Art Center and initiated by Scott Sayer. Mobile art on wheels, which are bicycles equipped with big projectors and microphones and whatnot.
How long up to and including the convention will many of these events be occurring, or the ripples of these events?
The whole, the full dates of the Unconvention are August 30 through September 4.
Oh, okay.
But the unconventional gathering phase, which is what Intermedia Arts is, will go all the way through November 7, because we wanted this to be a place where people can feel free to have conversations, dialogues. We'll be holding workshops here, art workshops, if you will, all the way through election time, because we want to offer a safe space where people can be, speak their minds.
Excellent. Well, if nothing else, the arts are still vital, and maybe they can survive all of this and maybe change things as well. Marlena, thank you very much for speaking with us, and we look forward to this evening.
Thank you.
Thanks. She-Rock, the Festival of Sisters, is a brand new music festival featuring the music of female performers who work in the Twin City music scene. Festival co-founder Debra G realized she didn't know many local female musicians and took it upon herself, with the help of her friends, to find them and bring them together to Pie Bar in Minneapolis for a weekend in September. Access to Art Correspondent Laura Stopyro stopped by the two-night event, enjoyed the music, and spoke with the participants.
course, I went to school for classical music, and I did the opera thing, and I loved that, but there was something missing, so I picked up a guitar and started to write, and I was like, this is it.
I started playing violin at the age of 4, and then I learned guitar later when I was 17.
Well, first I actually started off playing drums. And from then, I played with some bands that way, and then I decided to pick up the guitar.
First song I ever made, I was about 15, and then I didn't really start doing it seriously until about the early to mid-90s. I put this festival together as a dream because I've lived in the Twin Cities for the last 10 years, and I have a lot of friends who are in the music biz, but they're all guys.
If you're silly, it's my best friend. What's up, girl? One love was high. How you been? Have you heard? She said that he's not right, but so he did. He did attack us like how I got over. Did we? How I got over. We're still trying to. I said my soul looks back and wonders how I got
I think this is just really amazing. The core group of women that kind of put this together, Debra G, obviously, myself, Stephanie Devine, Desdemona, and Shannon Blowtorch, really have put their heart and soul into this festival, and I really look forward to it being an annual thing.
There's a time for every star. There's a time for...
I think this is great. I think it's fun to finally see how many females are out there. Like, I myself am so surprised that we have this huge list of women, and then, you know, mostly from this area.
They make it up. 1,000 years of searching gave me reason to die. About time, 69, move like a thief in the night.
Our hope for the years after is to make it an outside block party and have workshops for high school students to kind of get them to know about the music business. I'm older now, and I feel like I wish I would have had the tools that I have now when I was a little younger.
I like to watch as you say, I like to watch as you say, I like to watch as you just color me in.
And I am finding my revolution.
That your mama is a strong woman, a fierce woman warrior.
Increasing senses of creative extensions filter endlessly energy from each pore speaking my soul.
So find your purpose and discover why it is you're necessary, because I can guarantee you that keg stands are not your reason for existence.
I had braids, weave, ponytails, extensions, and tracks.
I am replacing the old stories with new ones. How it began, I don't really know.
Like liquid forming to figures, each and every finger I'm feeling needing your whispers.
That can fight the demons, that can cook anything in the kitchen.
There was high school, St. Paul Central, big gray, 5th floor in a basement building, kind of looks like a prison. Kind of ran like one too.
This darkness surrounds me, the air thick with tension, taking my breath away. And know that I should go. I know I shouldn't have come here, but something about the tone of your voice when you call.
You know, I go through a couple different scenes. I go through the country scene, then again I'm in a bluegrass band, so I go to the bluegrass scene. And then, you know, the female scene is totally, you know, it's just a good eclectic mix. That's great.
So it's just cool to see, like, all the different genres all together, and I think that's the exciting thing about it, too, because it kind of, what it does is it doesn't just introduce the audience to new people, it introduces the artists to other artists that they didn't know about in the same city that they live in.
Like a sensational style, and I can go on and on for like a mile a minute, because I get in it like a car and drive, and if the record is a smash it, I can still survive, cause I'm the man of steel on the wheel that you're steering, or rather playing on the record that you're hearing. You might not understand what I'm saying at first, so carnage, put it in reverse.
I guess being a female musician, I like to watch other female musicians and see who's out there and just see what they do and then kind of correlate it to what I do.
Everyone who was here, men and women alike, just enjoyed themselves.
And these women are my peers, they're my mentors, so just to see them go out there and do that was pretty cool.
We're with John O'Brien, who has an interactive piece in the Intermedia Unconvention. And John, tell us a little bit about it.
It's called Landing in America, and it refers not so much to the notion of immigrants landing here, but the idea that we all land someplace in our spiritual journey. So it's with that in mind that I created this interactive piece where through a series of historical and contemporary images mixed together, artists and activists are pictured in familiar locations. And each one has something to contribute in the arena of arts and activism under the gun.
What might visitors to this installation experience?
Well, what happens here is that the movie is set up in a technology called VR, virtual reality. It's mousing through movies, stopping where you will. The movies don't play unless you animate the frames by dragging the screen with the mouse. And so you're involved in it. Lots of musicians have contributed to the piece. Lots of local people have agreed to be in it, and most of the photography I did myself, and then there's a lot of period photography that comes from the Library of Congress and other public domain sources.
Mm-hmm. Well, it sounds like an extraordinary amount of work, and I hope that you find the results gratifying, and I know the audience will appreciate it. Well, thank you very much, John.
Thanks very much.
Since 2004, the Stevens Square Center for the Arts has sponsored Zine Fest, an annual festival for do-it-yourself art and literature featuring music, an art show, and demonstration and exhibits by people who make zines, quirky, odd duck, little small press, often with handmade elements, limited run publications that they do because they don't know that otherwise those things will ever see print. I love that this happens in an age of the internet and blogging and texting that people still want to put out a little printed publication. I did my first zine in 1967 on a duplicator I bought from Sears, and most of the copies I printed are still in the attic in New Jersey. Access to Art Correspondent Laura Stopyro attended the Zine Fest this year and talked with organizers and participants.
You, hot guy with a faux hawk, camos and gaunch undies.
So why is it so hard to make a relationship work?
With perfect tan line, 4% body fat.
If it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
American Apparel tri-blend track shirt.
Is your ear open to acrylics' whispered secrets?
The most important part of this DIY culture is the community, people talking to each other and having something to offer. I think it's exciting to come to somebody's table at a zine fest or a show and have, you know, a number of different things that you could talk about.
There's like such a huge selection, like a lot of different topics that are covered.
The fact that everything is like do-it-yourself.
And how to make your zine better and where you're at in the process.
A little bit about a production of an accordion book and the tricky way, the book arts way to fold one.
On Friday the 13th, the Mack truck backs up into Walmart and 249 wolves jump out half-starved and go on a bloodthirsty rampage.
Too many times have I had to push through people packed like pickles around the doors only to find a breezy open field near the back.
I'm very new to the zine community. Didn't really hear about it until I moved to Minneapolis a few years ago, and I'm really impressed with it. I like the do-it-yourself culture, and yeah, it's a remarkable thing.
Stevens Square Center for the Arts is a nonprofit that's been around for 5 years. There's a lot of potential in this place that hasn't been realized. Their main focus is to offer affordable studio space to local artists. In exchange, all you have to do is get involved and help put on art shows and have a voice.
Well, this is my favorite zine that I got today. And I love it because it's so tiny and it's a little package of them, and it came out of a condom machine.
People are really generous too. Actually, my neighbor here is just giving his away for free, and they're just, they're so cool.
Sometimes it is something more than. Sometimes it is the hero to all that came before and all that will come after. And sometimes it's just
horror stories. I write music reviews. I write true life comedy type stories. Everybody is really intense about what they do, putting together zines, creating, good discussions about it. There's been some great presentations. I've learned a few things, read some great stuff.
Somewhere along the line, I threw up a blue slushie, and I don't mean into the air with my hands.
Boys and girls alike love indie rockers.
Once your FFSW, female food service worker, recognizes you and has made small talk, you can consider yourself a regular.
Boasting about swapping spit with Ken Stringfellow. Disgusting.
This year it was Zines of the Cities, a retrospective of comics and zines that were made in Minneapolis in the 80s and 90s.
I just wanted to have some fun, not make serious art, so I got a job at Kinko's for inspiration.
And then he talked for about an hour about the history of zines in Minneapolis and just about, what happened to the people making zines, what they're doing now.
Arise sells a lot of zines, and when you look at publishing as an industry, there are huge conglomerations of publishers where it's really difficult for first-time writers to get published or people that are doing more quirky or funny or unusual things. I know a lot of people who started doing zines when they were 13, 14, 15 and are now doing more writing or actually published.
Spinning like I thought I was Michael Jackson, pointing a finger in the air like I had Saturday Night Fever. Hell, if the crowd hadn't been so thick, I'd have been down there humping that mud and beer-soaked floor like Prince in Purple Rain.
We had 2 doctors in town. One was kind of an abortionist. The other one was a drunk.
People that started with DIY have gone on, in some cases, to actually be paid for what they were already doing. That's interesting, but it's not the end goal of self-publishing.
The great thing about zines is that the ability that people have to just publish their own writing and get their own writing out there immediately is great.
It's an outlet for people that have great ideas that couldn't meet a mass market appeal.
I feel like I came out of there with my own private zine library, and I only spent $20 and it was just amazing.
We're with Jane Powers, who's behind the One-on-One Film Festival, and this is a spectacular interactive activity going on at the opening of the Unconvention at Intermedia. And Jane, tell us what the core idea was behind doing this.
Well, the core idea is to bring together filmmakers and their viewing audience to be able to discuss the content of their film. And the filmmakers that I'm recruiting have been doing films that deal with social political issues. Mm-hmm. So the intention is to use the film as a catalyst to begin discussion about the issues that they are working with in the films.
Mm-hmm. The recently concluded 2008 Minnesota Fringe Festival featured about 1,080 artists performing in about 156 shows, each mounted at least 5 times in about 15 different venues. Minnesota Fringe is an extraordinary melting pot of crazy art, sane art, traditional art, alternative art, and it's non-juried. It's open to anyone who wants to get up on a soapbox or a stage and puppeteer, dance, perform a conceptual piece, anything at all. Welcome to all. I love the Fringe Festival. Look, I'm wearing my Fringe Festival t-shirt. Ashley Siebels attended a handful of shows and spoke with both organizers and participants who make this extraordinary Fringe Festival work.
Fringe Festival, I love it. I am a total, call it fringeaholic.
I'm a junkie for this stuff. I see a lot of this stuff and I spiral into this horrible depression for about a week immediately following every festival, as I think many of us do.
Stitch belt and epaulette combo, a fashion that says, hey there, he's Maude at the same time.
The Minnesota Fringe is a 10-day festival that is stretched throughout 11 or 12 venues, maybe even more, 15 or 16. I know this year there were 156 companies that were involved. Over these 10 days, basically Monday through Friday, they have it's very well organized, 5:30, 7 o'clock, 8:30, 10 o'clock shows. Each show is an hour long with a half-hour break in between, so artists have only 10 minutes to break down their set, and then the next artist gets in there and has 20 minutes to set it up, and then after the show, 10 minutes to break it down. For the audience, it gives them half an hour to get to venue to venue.
I write theater reviews for the Twin Cities Daily Planet. I have consistently seen around 45 shows every Minnesota Fringe. One of my big goals is I want to be the guy who goes out and like discovers the show that nobody else knows about and nobody else sees. So I mean, generally given the choice between something that is really popular and I know is going to be good and something I've never heard of, I'll try to go to something I've never heard of.
I like the Fringe. You get to see such odd flavors, and I think Among the Oats is one of those odd flavors.
Among the Oats, it was a script that Jared Reese sent to me, and I took a read of it, and I said, that has got to be one of the odder things that I've ever read. But it was great because I thought it's perfect for the Fringe Festival. Where else can I do a show that is set in a big box of oatmeal?
It has to be oats!
I heard about the Fringe because the Fringe is everywhere in Minneapolis, so I've been hearing about it from year to year. This is the 15th year, and I had developed this piece the preceding November and decided that I wanted to represent it in the context of the Fringe so that a lot of people would have exposure to my work. The piece is about my relationship to the environment, and for as long as I can remember, I've always had a passion for art and a passion for nature. So the piece I created was called The Survival Pages, and it combines elements of spoken word storytelling, dance and movement, and video collage work in order to tell a story about my relationship to the environment in a broader global sense as well as a very personal sense. I think the Fringe is excellent because it's all by lottery, and so it gives equal access to people at these different levels. I've gotten to see a lot of really raw, exciting work that I wouldn't be able to see otherwise if it had been a juried selection.
It gives an opportunity to artists that wouldn't normally get a chance to perform at a venue. It gives them an audience. I think a lot of people are willing to take a chance in something or in somebody that they've never heard of before. Maybe the material might intrigue them. Who knows? And they don't normally get that during the rest of the year around from the Twin Cities theater scene. Not normally, not like this. There's nothing like this.
The Fringe is it is creativity, just an immense amount of creativity condensed inside a small space of time, say about 10 days, and people come in from all over the world, and it explodes onto stages and performance spaces. It's all over the place for just about a 2-week period, and of course, then it's gone. After every Fringe, there is a letdown. It's just a feeling of, oh, that was incredible, that was intense. Each year has its own rhythm, its own feel. I always come away from a Fringe festival with ideas popping out of my head. It's one of the most creative, intense environments I have ever experienced, and I absolutely love it.
Holy smokes, this is exciting. Politioke. Who are you and why are you doing this?
I'm Diana Arce, and I have an intensely love-hate relationship with politics. And I figured it would be very therapeutic to take the words that the politicians use and give them back to the people to use themselves. There will be menus all over in the reception area and also back in the theater, and there's little sign-up sheets where everyone here can sign up and choose to deliver a speech. And then they can come and give the speech, or not give the speech.
Do they pick an existent speech and get to defame someone else's celebrity, or do they on their own make themselves look foolish?
Well, essentially it's you for office, so it's the choice of the participant of how they want to utilize the words, whether or not they do want to utilize the words, or if they want to sing the words, or if they want to actually do their best John McCain impression. That's up to them.
Of thousands of jobs in some of America's most hard-pressed areas. We will accelerate the development of wind and solar power and other renewable technologies!
Do you have a recording of any of these speeches?
Yes, I have a website, www.politookie.com.
Clearly you have the domain name, so the Republicans can't get it. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to pick on the Republicans.
Well, it's you for office, so you can pick on whoever you choose.
Well, thank you. I might take advantage of that. I usually do. Thanks a lot.
Aus Bayern zusammenlaufen. Edmund Schreiber, Transrapid. Thank you, everyone, for coming to Politookie.
Thus wraps the 16th episode of Access to Art. You can see us Tuesday nights, 8:30 on Minneapolis Television Network, Channel 17. I think this episode contained the mention of more art group, artists, art affiliations than all the 15 episodes that have preceded this. And yet we still want to hear from you, if not directly via the group that you talk into, coming down to MTN and figuring out how to make public access work for the betterment of you, the arts community, and Minneapolis overall. We're in front of the other half of the mural now, outside of Intermedia, at the opening of the Unconvention, and this side of the mural reads, "Not fences." Now is the side that reads, "Build bridges." Not fences. I have to make their own continuity there. This is the show on which we watch shows. And the shows we're watching on this shows are shows that move around, not especially convenient for you, the viewer at home, but pretty entertaining for us. Here at Intermedia, the hub of many different, let's do that again. I don't know what it's a hub of. Hub of is a good word.
Hubba, hubba.
Hubba, hubba, hubba.